And if you guys, if anybody's in the back and they want to get, we got a couple chairs here and we can figure out, we'll make. But, so I'll start in the beginning. So, and someone brought their dog, I love it. So, my name is Jeremy Moore. We've got a company, small company called Dogbone. And we do training products, obviously. We do training stuff, we do training products. A lot of our stuff is here. Jay's a great partner of ours. We've done business with him for years now. We're in town this weekend, and we're doing some Whitetails Unlimited events. So we did one last night, we're doing one again tonight. And it was right in town, so we thought, what a great opportunity to come in. I was at this store, actually, I think it was, I don't know if Matt's around, I think it was for the grand opening of this store a couple of years ago. We came and we did a seminar, we did some demonstration stuff with the dogs. And so they're really, really a nice partner of ours, and we really appreciate them having us. I really thank you guys for driving. I've heard people that were you 4? We had 4, anybody longer than 4? You win. I don't know what you win, but
a shirt.
You're a winner. So who drove over an hour? It's half the people here that drove over an hour. So I really like that, first off, and I appreciate it because it really shows when you do that, if you're willing to put that amount of time in, well then I'm really willing to give you back time. I'll help anybody that needs it. That's kind of my thing. I love training dogs, and I'm realizing more and more, I think I like helping people as much as dogs, because I think when I can help people, I can affect more dogs. That's something I've mindset thing, and we're going to talk a lot about. We'll talk today about some actual things that you can do, and then we'll talk a little bit about the other part of the equation, not the mechanic part, but the idea of connection with your dog and trusting your dog trusting you, the feel. I talk probably more so about that than I do mechanics these days. Early on, I spoke a lot about mechanics. I think I've come to realize I think they're equally important. I think mechanics are relatively easy. It's relatively simple. I can teach people where to put your hands on the leash. I can teach people the physical drills that we can do. And people can do them. You can mimic it exactly how I do it, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we snowball the wrong way. So what I want to do is, first off, I'll get through some of this initial business, if you will. I put a disclaimer out before I ever do a seminar, every single time. There's some more chairs coming, guys. Thank you. If I do a seminar, I make it really clear in the beginning that it's not a demonstration. I probably used the word demonstration already 3 times. It's not. It won't be. I don't do that anymore. I've very rarely done it. And the reason is because in the past, I've gone and seen dog seminars. Trust me, it wasn't long ago I was in the exact same spot, and even today you'll find me in that exact same spot, sitting in the chair listening to people talk about training dogs, watching stuff on YouTube. I mean, today there's so many ways to absorb content. I think it's great. I love it. We started talking about social media. We're live right now, so on our Facebook page. I think there's so many ways to get information these days. What I think you have to be careful of is it's not all necessarily the stuff you need to do. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. So I watch as much stuff as I can. I listen to as many people as I can. There's a great looking puppy that walks in. So I do all these things to get as much information as I can, and then I sift through it. Then I figure out some of this stuff applies and works for me, some of it doesn't. And I'm not one to say this is the only way to train a dog. So I put that out there really, really upfront early on. The other thing I put up there upfront early on is we're not doing a demonstration today. I'm going to do a seminar, and it's likely, there's a reason why this little fox red one is here. It's not because she's really cute. I mean, she is really cute. She's a puppy. She's 6 months old, great looking dog, knows I'm talking about her right now. But she's going to make some mistakes. Spry, if anyone has watched Spry. Now, put your hands up again if you've seen our stuff on social. Like, probably found out about this through social, I would guess. Because when you're a really small company, your marketing budget matches the size of your company. We're really small. So we use a lot of tools that are really effective and cost effective. And for us, social has been the hands down the best way for us to grow. So because of that, that's how I reach people 4 hours away, 3 hours away. Now, I'm not against the traditional way. There's a bunch of posters around town too, because I had people last night that said, hey, I saw you at the pizza place. Wasn't it you guys that saw it? You saw it at a pizza place. So that works. That stuff works. But what I want to do is I want to make it real clear that it's likely today that our dogs are going to screw up. And people that have followed us on social media have followed Spry. This is Spry. She's I think we did number 119 this week. It was a video, and it started out literally it started out on one of these beds probably, in our living room. I had a 7-week-old puppy, her. We put her on that bed, and my wife, it was live, had just, like the ability to go live on Facebook had just started. And so she went live because we were talking about it. It was pretty uncomfortable. I'm going, geez, man, what happens if people watch right now and something goes wrong? So we put this little puppy on place, and we started recording it, and we were laughing about it, and blah, blah, blah. It's fun. We did that one time, and the puppy jumped off a bunch of times. And we talked, I think there's a puppy here that we're going to try to do this place training with at some point. But, so, dog jumped off, we corrected, she jumped off, we corrected, she jumped off. We got a training DVD, this puppy DVD right here. You watch a dog do it live for about 10 to 12 minutes, I think the chapter is. It's literally me sitting in front of a camera like that, training that little puppy. Jump off, jump off, jump off, put it back, put it back, put it back, put it back. Who can be the most consistent? Who can be the most patient? And finally, I won. And the little puppy circled around and laid down. Well, we did that with Spry live. Next thing you know, 2 days later, someone sent me a message and said, would you do that again with that little dog? I mean, watch live with Spry #1. Like, you won't want to find it on Facebook. It's way back there. Go to YouTube and drop down. You can scroll through them a lot quicker. But you'll find, look at #1, and you'll realize what I mean. We didn't know what we were doing at that point. Like, we literally were sitting in our living room filming this little puppy. People asked us, would you do that again? Okay, so we did it again. Didn't know exactly what we're doing. After the third one, we got a bunch of messages where people said, we really like watching what you're doing with that little dog Spry. So I said to my wife, but the beauty of Live with Spry, I think, was the same reason I think today is going to be official, is my dogs are going to screw up. Now, I say it because I put it out there. There's a lot of people that are not interested in showing their dogs make mistakes. Now, back up. I'm sitting in a seminar and I'm watching this guy train his dog. This literally was about shed training. I went to a seminar about shed training, and this was probably in 2005 or 2006. Our patent started in 2007 for our training dummy. So that was when I first filed it. But prior to that, I thought, I'm interested in a little background on mine. I'm a construction guy. I went to school for construction, not a dog trainer. I enjoyed training dogs. I bought a dog when I was in college, a lab. I had golden retrievers my whole life. Bought a lab because my buddies were all from Minnesota and they were all duck hunters. Went to college on the west side of Wisconsin and met a bunch of guys from Minnesota. Bought a lab. Decided I want to focus on deer again, and I had to put the aside. And I looked at this old black lab of mine who I had bought in college. Her name was Remy. At that point, she was 7. I'm looking at her and I'm going, what in the world am I going to do with this dog? I'm not going to bird hunt anymore. What is she going to do? Trust me, she didn't like the idea of not going bird hunting anymore. But I had heard about guys shed hunting with their dogs. So I Googled it. Back then, I Googled shed hunting with a dog and one article came up. One. It was an Outdoor Life article. And it was about a guy that lives like in Colorado or Wyoming, and he had an old yellow lab and he used it, and they had these pictures of him. You can still probably find it today online. But there was one article. Back then, who here shed hunts? Shed hunting is something that even 5 years ago, I'd say, 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 years ago, I would go and knock on doors and ask to shed hunt. Now, I've shed hunted a long time without the dogs. I didn't find very many. I found very few. But I would knock on a door and I'd ask to go shed hunting, and people would look at me funny. They'd go, you what? What do you mean? They didn't even know what I was asking. Shed hunting, what is that? Today I knock on doors and I ask to shed hunt. I got a place right down the road from me. I've been watching it all year. Standing Corn. We've got good snow. You guys got way better snow. We don't have nearly as much as you guys have, and the people from the south can, I don't want to rub it in, but you guys got a little snow too, I heard. So all these deer are piling into this Standing Corn. I will track down the owner and I'll knock on the door and I'll find out whose field that is, and then I'll find out who the neighbors are all the way around it, because I think there will be sheds in there. Okay, I know there will be. There has to be. There's cow paths going in and out of it. So I used to knock on the door and ask permission, and absolutely, I don't know what you're talking about, go ahead. Today I do it, and we shed hunt. Our nephew shed hunts. Our cousins shed hunt. You just can't do it. You just can't get 1 out of 5 maybe I get on. It's because people have kind of found it to be interesting. It's followed, I think it's followed right along with deer management in general. It's just another aspect of it, and it's kind of the trailing part of it. So when I started, there was nothing out there on how to do it. I went to a seminar in Green Bay. I'm from Wisconsin. Don't hold it against me. This guy right here really busted me when I walked in. He says, "Where are you from in Michigan?" I said, "Wisconsin." And right away he got up, he was going to leave. But I told him, I said, "Hey, I'm a Bears fan, and I live in Green Bay." And they said, "You're really digging a hole right now." But what I told him is that makes for thick skin. So I can take it. I really don't mind. But I'm from Wisconsin, and I go to this show in Green Bay, and this guy comes, and he does this. It's going to be a shed training seminar. Right down my alley. Perfect. So I went to it and I watched it. And I watched the guy do some tricks with his dog. And I watched the guy demonstrate some things. And then I left there and I went, now what? I am nowhere near any closer to training my dog than what I did was I went back to my gun dog stuff, my bird dog stuff, and I went, how did I get my bird dog to pick up antlers? Or to pick up, where'd my training bag go? How did I get my bird dog to start making retrieves for me when I bird hunted? Now, we're going to go through some parts and pieces and tools. Now, the other thing too is, I think we called it, I don't see a poster, but I think we called it a deer dog. What's that?
Your card's full.
My card is full. Yeah, he's a trainer, he's not a cameraman.
Talk too much.
That's all right, you can leave it. I am a bit long-winded. So, and here's the other thing. That's all right. If it's full, that's fine. I'm going to be, like if there was a contest who can put the most words into a seminar, I'll win. Like I talk really fast. I really run them. But if I say stuff that doesn't make sense, this is not very formal. Like I feel like right now, we're in church. Like really a well-behaved group right here, okay? So we've got a nice foundation. But if this can loosen up as we start moving and start doing some, if you got questions, just put your hand up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some specific stuff. I'm getting at the idea of it's a deer dog seminar. So we're going to talk shed stuff, and we're going to talk some tracking stuff, game recovery. We put down an hour. I got longer than that. Don't know if you do, but we can only cover so much. We're not going to train dogs in that short amount of time. My hope is to get some information to you guys, and then I want to leave some time because I think it's important to have some questions. If you've got questions, and if you came here, you probably have a question, because that's probably why you're here. So if you don't get the answer during this, please ask it. And I'm going to leave time at the end for that. But so how do I get these dogs? So shed hunting. So I should ask this because I like to. Clearly, I do not have a real set idea coming into these of saying this is my, like Bill Hahn. He's a buyer. He's right there. So hey Bill. I didn't even see a Bill, but Bill's here. So I'll be careful what I say. He's right here. So Bill sent me a message and he said, do you need a PowerPoint? Do you need a screen? What do you need for this? Can we get you, what kind of hookups do you need? So I think a lot of times instructional stuff reverts back to classroom stuff. When we start talking mechanics, when we start talking connection, field trust, all that stuff, we're trying to find some balance in everything we do with the dog. So I've had people ask me, can you write out a calendar for me? 30-day calendar of what I need to do on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Because the way they think and the way they process stuff is that way. They're real analytical where they're going to go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Some people go step 1 and step 100. If 100 is, they don't think of all the steps in between. We all learn a little bit differently. So as a dog trainer, you have to change your set of mind. I don't care what you do for a living. You can be a computer programmer, you can be a mechanic, you can be a welder, you can be whatever it is. The dog training part is really flexible. It's a lot like coaching a basketball team. Anybody? I use a lot of sports analogies, and I work with this one group, and they're not sports people. So I go in there and I'm talking about a hockey team and a basketball team, and they're all looking at me and going, They have no idea what I'm talking about. So I have to change with them. I make different analogies. But does anybody mind if I use sports? Because I'm a sports guy. So if you're a coach on a basketball team and you have a one way of doing something, it's likely that your players, you'll have some that benefit from you. They excel. My kid is 16 years old. He's playing high school basketball. I see it every year. I see it every level, whether it be little kids or the highest Taylor. This little one, first time ever. So we'll show some of these things because it's more exciting, it's more fun. But what I'm getting at is this one was awful at retrieving, but she healed really well early on. So I did some of the things to build the foundation. I worked on some of her weaknesses. The retrieving part, here's the other thing. Here's the other key to a trainer. Starts with a P. Patience. Like, I have to be patient. Most of the time when dogs don't make it, it's not because of the dog, it's because of the people. I will say that to anyone and everyone. I don't care. I've gotten in disagreements with people about that. The dog just doesn't have it. The dog didn't. Puppy. Who's got a dog? How old's the dog? 4. 2. 9 and 14. 2. 3, I heard. 8. 6 and 4. Everybody wins. God, I can't trick a single person here in Michigan. So, there's quite a few dogs here. We didn't even talk about. I'm sure not everybody said their ages. 2 and younger, I call puppy. So we got a couple here that were really on the borderline. Now, there's no set thing like, hey, it's his second birthday turned into a dog. He's no longer a puppy. I use it as a benchmark. About 2 is where I call them. Below that, they're puppies. The hard part about it is they look like dogs. The difference is, like with kids, how old are you, Easton?
9.
He's 9. You look every day of it, my friend. You look really good. 9-year-old kid, right? How old are you? 10. Well done. Who else? Young. How old are you? She's hiding. How old? 8. Okay. I can tell you guys are not 18. I can tell you're not 21. If you came to me, I wouldn't serve you. Now, that's another story. So, I can tell you're younger, right? It's physical. I can see it. So I wouldn't expect Easton, if he's on my basketball team, I'll go back to basketball. If he's on my basketball team, I don't expect him to do the same things that I expect out of a sophomore in college, playing at a college level. But, because he doesn't look that way. So my expectations are realistic. I look at him and go, probably plays at, what grade are you in?
4th.
4th grade. Probably plays at 4th grade level or somewhere around that. This dog right here looks a lot like a dog. She was a year in December. So now she's got a little bit of a young look to her, but there's a lot of people that look at these ones too and go, those are puppies too, right? They're not. These dogs are a little bit smaller, so they're a little deceiving, but they're all full grown for the most part. This one right here is about full grown. She's a little pocket dog. Like she's a nice little dog. She's probably, I don't know if she's 40 pounds yet. But she's on the smaller side. But who here has one of these dogs that are 2 or younger? How big are they? What do they weigh? How big is your dog?
Probably knee high.
What's it weigh?
Probably 60 pounds.
60 pounds. What kind of dog is it?
Lab and pit.
Lab and pit, 60 pounds. Bigger than any dog I have here by 10 pounds. Who else has a dog? What size is yours?
85.
85 pounds. And how old?
2.
2. Probably looks like a dog at 85 pounds, right? So a lot of times we see that golden retriever back there that's 13 weeks. How big is that golden retriever? 28 pounds. About the size of this one at 13 weeks. And this one is, I don't know how old, 6 months, 7 months old. So what I'm getting at is we have to realize where they're at and understand patience, macro patience. We have to have huge patience in everything we do. And that's going to come all the way down to the little daily things as well. So I'm going to show you, the reason I use this is because Remy, that old dog of mine, found antlers for me that first year. She found quite a few, actually. I went and bought a puppy. Puppy looked a lot like this one. So my puppy was 6 months old. She was done teething. So I don't do any retrieving when they're teething. You're going to just create, we live by a rule of we don't create habits early on that we're going to have to train out later. So when they're teething, they have a tendency to want to chew. Anybody here have a dog that chews?
Yeah.
Chewers? Okay? I really highly recommend no chew toys. Absolutely zero. I see smiles in the crowd. I saw him really quickly look at you. So, no chews. You know what chews are? They're really good training tools. They train dogs, they teach dogs that chewing is acceptable. Chewing is habitual. People that chew gum all the time, the Packers had a backup quarterback, he chewed gum all the time this year. All the time. Like at his post pressers, he's chomping on gum. It was one of the biggest things people talked about in Green Bay. There's not a lot to talk about in Green Bay outside of the Packers. So it was one of the things that everybody talked about was, I forget what his name was, but he chewed on gum. He chewed gum, he chewed gum, he chewed gum. That was his comfort thing. He always chewed gum. Chewing is habitual. Dogs that chew likely are introduced to chewing pretty early on. We're going to put things in these dogs early on they're going to have the rest of their life. Be careful. Make it be good. Make it be positive stuff. Don't have it be negative stuff that you got to train out later, right? So those are some of the principles and the ideas that we're always trying to implement. But with these little dogs, so she's done, my little dog, her name was Finn. She's on that poster back there. But she was done teething, and I took an antler that looked a lot like this, and I threw it for her. And she ran down, and she loved to retrieve. So she ran down, she was really excited. If you can't see, there's an interest level here. But look at this, and look at this little thing, this little delicate puppy. Now, she's quite sensitive. She's got little beady, little eyes, little nose, little mouth, cute little thing. She ran up very excited with retrieving because I had built her up to like retrieving. I started out in the hallway. I had a balled up sock. I took steps. I used puppy bumpers. She loved to retrieve. I threw an antler for her. She ran up to it. She jabbed herself on it and rolled over and went beep, 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 and came running back to me with her tail between her legs. Like, I kind of pride myself on that. Beep, beep. Like, that's what it sounds like. You ever have a dog that gets surprised, startled? It's not like aggressive. They're scared, really scared. She came running back to me, looked at me like, oh my God, Dad, it bit me. I don't want anything. She didn't want to even look at it. I pick it up, she goes in the other room. She hated it. Now, you got to remember, I bought this puppy because I was so jacked up because Remy was good and she was 8 years old, and I cross-trained her to do it. Now I'm going to get a puppy. The puppy will be even better. Because this 8-year-old dog, I didn't start with it until she was 8 years old. This puppy is going to be my big, solid shed dog. And I'm going to take the same approach that I did my bird dogs. And all of a sudden, she's afraid of antlers. That's where this, I can tell you the spot, I could walk you back to the spot that I was standing at when this happened. And because that was when I went, what am I doing here? When I train pheasant dogs, I don't put them in a pen with roosters and hope they turn into a bird dog. You're going to have a lot of issues. But how do I get a good pheasant dog? I start out with a balled up sock in the hallway. I went to little puppy bumpers like this. I taped some wings to it. I added some scent to it. I used cold game. I used fresh killed game. I used live pigeons. I eventually got to a bird. Incremental training. I can't get dogs to stay on here for an hour during a seminar if I can't get them to stay here for 10 seconds when they're sitting here. And you want to see it, go back and watch that live. It literally is about 10 seconds before she comes off. But from that, I built on it. From there, I built on it. So I'm always taking these little baby steps. And when I run into issues, I just take a step back. Fix the hole, I fill the hole in, and then I keep going forward. Run into a bump, fill the hole in, keep going. Takes some time, some patience. But now what I do is I use this. I don't care how hard I stab myself with it. It won't hurt. But what does it look like? It looks awful similar, right? So what I like to do is shape condition first. Get my dogs to understand what this thing is going to equal a retrieve. Dogs don't retrieve antlers because they like antlers. A lot of people think, I want to have a shed dog, I'll just give them chews. Let them have antler chews. Here's the thing, dogs are always learning, we're always training, habits are formed constantly. You lay antlers around your house and they walk by them 100 times a day and they pick it up 10 times and chew on it. What did they do 90 times? They walked right past it. What habit is formed stronger? This thing right here, does not come out of my bag until I'm going to use it. It's a lot like, when does your snow probably melts around July here? Comes back in August, I'm assuming. So that window of period, that time period when the snow melts, the ditches will be full of empty pop bottles if they're anything like my house. I live way out in the country, and I drive up and down, in the spring. I go up and down, I'll fill the back of my truck with empty pop bottles because people throw them out in the snow, and then all of a sudden it melts, and there's a bunch of them. The reason those are there is because they're not worth anything. But if there was a $100 bill in every one of them, how many would be in the ditch? Because we pick them up, we put value to them. I have to figure out, dogs don't get value in antlers because they get to lay down and chew on them. My dogs see value in antlers because, well, I'll get you next time. I scared the heck out of him. He flinched. Now,
He's excited.
who just conditioned response, right? Now, some of you guys in the back can't see this, but this little dog was nearly falling asleep earlier, which I'm pretty proud of her for that. Like, she's a pistol. So she laid down and she was kind of, right now, she's pretty excited. She's controlled, which is nice, but, Ellie, everybody all of a sudden woke up. Because my body language has changed. I need a whistle. Gotta have the right tools. Well, I don't have a whistle. My whistle's in my truck. I'll do it without it. So, Ellie, heel. Ellie. Oh. Let's work this through here. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Good girl. So here comes one. Hold, hold, hold. There. Now, you know, if you're in the back, probably hard to see. The reason I brought the little red bandit is because I need to have her make a few mistakes. And that wasn't too awful bad. Let's see if I can get him this time. There's Matt. It's good. So, my dog just picked up. Now, so I'll go back to what happened there. So, Ellie runs out, picks it up, brings it back. No problem. Ellie is a really nice dog. She's one of my personal dogs. This little dog broke. Okay? So, I'm going to learn from that. It's real easy to set myself up for success. So, I'm going to let this little Peanut get a retrieve. We call her Peanut at our house. So, she's going to get a retrieve, but she's not going to get a retrieve until she's patient, quiet, steady, and then I'll reward her. And it'll be interesting to see her make the retrieve because she's never made one in front of a crowd. We'll see if I can't figure out a way to set her up for some success, and she might fail at it, and then I'll have to make an adjustment. We'll figure out a better way to do it, but let's see. Let's have Taylor. Now, I'd be willing to bet that this little red dog, Elsa, won't break. She can't. I've taken the chance for her to fail away. Taylor. Now, Spry passes with flying colors. Nice and patient. So Taylor here is the Whitetails Unlimited mascot. And you look at her pace. She's real nice and smooth. That's just the way she is. Now, the reward for her was the idea of she just got a nice retrieve. Now, I didn't get real crazy about it. Oh, good girl, you're a good girl, you're a good girl. I don't need to. She's done it enough times that it's habitual. It's become a habit of hers. When this one makes a retrieve, we'll see what we got to do. Because I got a feeling I'm going to have you just scooch a little bit. I have a feeling that I may have to get 16-year-old little girl. Come on, to get her back to me. Because there's a lot more interesting things out in this crowd than me right now. So I'm going to figure out, I'm going to see if I can do this. Now, if she doesn't, I'll change the situation. And, you know, as I stand here and I think, so this is how you got to be thinking on the fly. So I'm standing here thinking, and I'm going, I think she'll do this. That's no way to live, my friend. You got to know she'll do it. So I'm looking out and I'm going, I think she'll go out and pick this and bring it back. But when I look out at the end of this aisle, there's a whole Jay's Sporting Goods to go to. And there's a lot of other people. And there's likely that she may go, I think I'll be back in a little bit. Now, this end, if I set this up the right way, it's likely I'm going to have her sit. Now, before I do this, let me back up. Here's the food. This will show you a little bit of progression. So,
Oh yeah.
Spry just came to life as well. This is a bowl of food. So when some of you have the little puppies, who's got the really little puppies? Really little ones. So we got an 8-week-old, didn't you? Yours was 10 weeks old. 13's back there. So steadiness is important to me. Patience is important to me. A dog that's willing to sit here and wait for a long time before it gets to do something is important. Because if we just we've got dogs that I'm working with right now, a little Springer Spaniel that I'm working with. This place it's in Michigan, so you'll appreciate that. I gotta give him a hard time back. So it's in Michigan. It's in the UP. It's a store called Mighty Pet. We've been filming a bunch of stuff. I have hours of footage filmed working with these people and their dogs. And we have this little Springer Spaniel that is really has a hard time settling down. So what do we do with that dog? The majority of the time we do nothing. We just make it work through and settle. It's difficult. There's a lot of people that would get about 15, 20 minutes into it and the dog's just going bonkers. And they give up. They quit. And so then the dog realizes, next time I think I'll go bonkers a little bit harder because what I did to get what I wanted was that. We have to have dogs understand they get what they want by doing what we ask them to do. So I want dogs to be nice and quiet, I'll reward you. I want dogs to be nice and patient, I'll reward you. So these little puppies, it starts from day one. I bring the pup home, 7 weeks old. For the last 3 weeks, it's been survival at the kennel. When the bowl of food gets scooped up, it makes the same noise there that it does at my house. And so there's a conditioned response. Pavlov rang a bell and you could get dogs to drool. This is the same thing. Scoop a bowl of food, dog gets really jacked up, really excited. This is something where I talk about consistency in training. You got to do something repetitiously over and over and over in order to form a habit. Every day I feed my dogs and I feed them twice a day. That's 2 lessons. And I can get it consistently because I don't skip feeding. It's easy to go, it's cold out today, it's snowing. I don't think I'm going to go outside and work with them. It's easy to say, got home a little late, it's getting dark. I don't think I'm going to go outside and work with them. It's easy to say, Saturday morning, I don't know if I want to get up early to go work with the dog. I'll sleep in. Oh, coffee, TV, show. I'll do it tomorrow. That's easy to do. I can't go if. I guess I could go, but they'd take them away from me. If I said, little late in the day, I don't think I'll feed them today. You can't do that. You got to at least feed them, right? So turn it into a lesson. So every day when I scoop the bowl of food, when I bring the little puppy home, they come unglued. Because it's the best time of the day at the kennel. Twice a day, maybe 3 times a day. Them and all their little siblings fought for survival, and it was the happiest time of the day. They got to eat. So I turn that right away into something that's going to benefit me. So I pick these little puppies up, and they're small at that point, and I can hold on to them. And I scoop the bowl of food, and I just stand here with it. And I can set it down, and I hold the pup, and the pup just wiggles. Wiggles, and sometimes they whine, and sometimes they fuss, and sometimes they all sorts of. Watch Live with Spry, you'll see she had all sorts of little tricks of hers. I've had some that like to push. They'll put their feet into me and push. And so if I set them down at that moment, next time they will do it even quicker and harder. Because what got them that food? They fussed. It's all about when you reward in conjunction to what the activity or behavior is. So I hold on to these puppies until they get so, I don't care if they tire themselves out. There's one time I did a Live with Spry, it was 47 minutes. It's really exciting. 47 minutes I stood there and watched. I had a tripod, and that's someone filming me. It really would have been uncomfortable. But I put a camera there, and I stood for 47 minutes on live video with a little puppy that kept, and sometimes she'd get to the point where, and this was like weeks into it, she'd get to the point where she'd settle. I'd start the little clock in my head, and I'd go, 1,001, 1,002. I just wanted to get to 5. I'd hit 4, she'd wiggle around. She'd make a noise, and I'd go, God, start over. And I'd hold her. And eventually, I get this little, these little puppies give you a little sigh. They gave in. And I'd set her down, and I'd let her eat. And the next day, it would get better. And the next day, it would get, but within a couple days of doing this, twice a day. Got to the point where my little puppy would go like this. She'd lay dead in my arms because she knew as soon as she got settled, I'd feed her. So then incrementally I'd build on that. So then I'd touch her feet to the ground. As soon as I touched her feet to the ground, she'd start spinning her wheels. She's used to going. So now I changed it. I said, no, now you got to put your feet on the ground. You can't go. And so they'd fuss, I'd pick them up. I'd set them down, their feet would hit the ground, they'd fuss, I'd pick them up. Set them down, fuss, pick it up. Then all of a sudden they sit down, and their feet touch the ground, and they didn't move. And I'd let her eat. So do that a day or two. And all of a sudden I'd set the dog down, and her 4 little feet would be a statue. She'd just wait for me to let her go. And I'd let her go. So then I'd build off that, and then I'd make her put her butt on the ground. Next thing you know, within about 5-6 days, I go over and I get my bowl of food, and I turn around, and the little puppy's sitting. I do it in the exact same spot in my kitchen. So I'd go over and I get the bowl of food, I turn around and I look, here the little puppy is sitting there patiently and quiet. I'm ready. That's how quickly they'll learn. But we got to be consistent with it. So these people at home with these pups, I got this little Elsa dog. Now I'll take her right off lead. I'm going to bring her over here so everyone can see. Come here. Here's where I like a training bag, so you don't have to. Training bag is really important. If you're going to do stuff with dogs, you got to have a bag. Because you can't carry stuff around. I can't do stuff. I'm crippled without having my hands. Here. So I want to position her over here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, you can do this. Sit. Now, if you can, now, so from that, I can build on extending them. So I'm going to come over here. Anybody, if you can't see her right now, have you ever seen a cocked gun? Like she is ready to go off. Like she is tight right now. That little creepy will fix. Can't go. Can't do that. Sit. Now, she came to us about a month after she was with her owners. And they're good people, great people. They've got several dogs from us. They were going to keep her for a few months and then send her back. And they called me after about 3 or 4 weeks and they said, we love her. We'd really like to see her at your house. So I brought her in. So I brought her in and she didn't do this very well. We've been working on it. I'm still working on it. Now it's a lot easier for me. I'm at 7 dogs at my house right now, and that's about 1 or 2 too many for me personally. It's a little overwhelming right now. So it's a lot easier for me and quicker for me to scoop a bowl of food and feed them all in their kennel. It's real easy. It takes a lot less time. I get nothing out of it. So I have to remind myself I have to do this more often. Now some of my older dogs I don't have to do this with. These guys I don't have, like Ellie over there, I'll have to wake her up again to make her retrieve. Like she's okay, I've been down this road before. But this little one has done a pretty nice little job for me. So I'm going to get her lined up, and you'll notice nose to tail. That's the way she's going to go. So when you start retrieving with them, if she's facing this way and I want to send her that way, you got to get her going that way, or they're going to start out in the wrong direction. That's mechanical. So I took a step forward. You know, I see a lot of people, they'll reach down, pick the dog up, start to adjust them. So I just take a step forward. Now she lines nice. I line out. She gets up. Sorry, Elsie, you can't go. You're going to have to sit, little girl. We'll try again. Elsa. And there's a nice little reward for her after doing what I asked her to do. Now, we do this every day, right? So now, gosh, I feel like here. Take that food right away from me. That for 3 bites? Now I'll feed you in a little bit. Now, let's do this. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it, but I'm going to do this to help me. I'm going to set. I got one there. So here's a leash that I like to use. This is something that we designed to work for us a little bit better. This is an adjustable slip. So I can put this on. Oh, you were a good girl. Don't have a training bag? Set it down. What does she do? Picks it up. Here. Elsa. Come here. Good. So I put this little slip on. I adjust it so that it won't fall off her when I send her. But I got the end of it. So when I start lining her up, sit. I've got a hold of her. If she goes right now, I got her. So I want these dogs to be patient. Now, I'm probably waiting too long because she's just a little puppy and I probably shouldn't wait this long. Elsa. Good girl. Good girl. Come on. Good girl. Now, that, whew, I'm really relieved by that because I thought we could have, yeah, she loves that. So, I think she's earned it, quite honestly. Sit. Now, I'm really excited about that, and I probably am surprised at it. Surprised how well that went. So, the reason is because I don't know that I'm thinking about it now. I don't know that she's retrieved this yet. So I'm going to do it again. I know I've done puppy bumpers with her. I've done real simple stuff. I use a hallway in my house. I close all the doors. It's out and back because I'm forming a habit right now. Out and back. Out and back. Out and back. If I did this in a great big wide open space, my chances are of her going out and back a lot less because she'll go out and then go out. And then it'll be, let's figure out how to get my dog back. We're losing opportunities for training there. I got to have a dog that'll recall before I can do any of this stuff. So, this will be interesting. That one's out a little bit further. If you notice, the first one was in the hallway or in the aisle yet. This one's beyond the aisle. That's a big difference for this little dog. So I'm going to see if she can work through. Now, the other thing you're going to see from me is my body language. I'm going to get right down and really encourage her to come back. And the other thing you're going to notice is I'm not in a hurry to take it away. This is not going to turn into, give that back to me. I'm going to share it with you so that she understands, go get it, bring it back to him. He's really going to not take it away, but he'll share it with me and tell me how good I am. The reward for her is not the antler. The reward is what?
The praise.
The retrieve and praise that follows it. The retrieve is natural to her. I have never trained a dog to retrieve before. It's natural with most dogs. If you don't have a dog, can you train them to it? Absolutely. But this one, she just does it. So I'm going to send her, because this was real nice. Nice and patient. Elsa. There's a lot of delay there, too. Now she doesn't even see it, so she's going to have to find it. I'm going to let her work. Good girl, that's it. Very good, very good. Oh, you're so good. She drops it a couple times. That's okay. It's okay. Good girl. Boy, that's pretty good. Yeah. That's really nice. So, let me do this. Just the next step, incremental. So we can throw antlers for these dogs all day long. And they're likely to, like this one, just having some success with it. Some nice success. Next step. We're going to do it right here. A lot of people run into the problem where they throw these things for their dogs and they retrieve them every time. Then they go out in the woods and they hide them. Their dog walks up to them, smells them, and then walks away. Doesn't bring it back to them. They go, I just don't understand it. Must be something with my scent or something. No, it has nothing to do with that. We went from A to Z. Dogs don't go from A to Z. Dogs go from A to B, B to C, C to D. We get to Z. So if you throw it every time and they go get it, that's good. But how many times have you been shed hunting and watched a buck run through the woods and shed its antlers? I saw it on YouTube once. Like, you're just not going to see it. So I don't teach my dog to figure out that antlers come from someone throwing them or someone running through the woods and them falling off and then I run out and get them. That's predator-prey, and it's natural for dogs to chase stuff down that way. It's predator-prey, and it's natural for her to go get them when I throw them. But here's how I get dogs to start picking them up off the ground. Because they have to understand it doesn't always come from me. It doesn't always come from a deer, literally, at that moment. How do we get them to quarter and cast and find something? The understanding is there's something that looks like that. Eventually I'll make it smell like that. And then it equals retrieve. So here's how I do that. It's real simple. A little trailing memory is what we call it. So Elsa, heel. Now you're going to notice something here. Watch her heel work. I've worked a lot on heel work. I have not made, I bet you I've made 10 retrieves, maybe 15 retrieves in her life. In her life. Not very many retrieves. I've done a lot of heel work with her. You'll notice her heel. Now retrieve, I thought that retrieve was pretty damn good. So I'm pretty happy about it. So maybe we're ready. She's done teething now. I might get into a little bit more retrieving with her. I got a lot of time for that. But you'll notice her heel work. It's pretty solid. You'll notice her lead is pretty loose. Heel. I stress the idea of a dog being in good heel position. I think I put such an emphasis on heel. And the reason is because if I can't control him at 1 foot, I won't be able to control him at a distance. Like, it starts right here. So, no corrections. There was no correction. So, if my dog doesn't know how to heel, I can't do this drill. Because it'll turn into a wrestling match of walking the dog back and forth and me dragging it around, and the effects of this drill are going to be lost. So I go back to my little steady tab here. Sit. 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 So one thing I'm picking up here is I'll probably work on sharpening up this little sit. She's pretty hesitant to sit for me. Well, it's a little mental note I put in the back of my head, and I go, on Sunday or Monday, or next time I work with her, I'll work on sharpening that up. I'm always making lists of what are you doing well today and what are you not doing well. And tomorrow I'll probably work on the stuff you're not doing that well. The stuff you're doing well, I'll probably push it a little bit. So, Elsa, good girl. 3 little retrieves, good girl. Now notice how she's carrying it. Come on, good girl. This is a learning process for her. Good girl. This right here, very nice. I'm really encouraging her to hold it. Not quick to take it out. She's still got it. Good. Did. Now, the difference between that one and the one before is I put some time in there. I didn't throw it and send her. I walked her out, dropped it, brought her back. Now, remember how before she was all over this place? Right now she's trying to figure out with her nose what's better than right here. But I've got this, and I've got pretty nice focus with Here's the thing about dogs. If you provide them a good leader, they'll follow you. This little dog right now has a lot of distractions, and she could go do a lot of things right now. But her focus at 6 months old, hard for you guys to see, so I'm going to come back here. Off lead right now. Just reverse this so you guys can see too. Get her in a nice little position. Not in a hurry to do anything. I think what we got to realize, like, I'm big on efficiency and speed and gotta be quick at stuff. If you got, I don't know what you do for a living, but when I was in construction, whoever did it the fastest had to have high quality. But if you did it faster than the other guy, you won. Like, that was the thing. There's no speed training dogs. I actually think the best way to speed up training is slowing down. Sounds weird. I have a lot of people that send me messages of, I just can't get to this next step. I just can't. They're strung out about it. Can't get to this next step in whatever it is they're trying to do. And I tell them, stop worrying about it. Slow down. Maybe even take steps backwards. Well, that doesn't sound like a logical way to get to where you want to get. But with dogs, sometimes instead of us putting our head down and trying to run through a brick wall that's there, take a step back and look. I put you guys to sleep. If I went the pace I wanted to with the dogs. Some of you might not mind that. Some of you might be sleeping already. I don't know. Elsa. This is a long delay on this one. Good girl. This is very good girl. Come on. And do you see how she kind of figures it out? Guys, that's why this is so important. If you literally just saw, she did a nice job. Now, I'm going to put her back. Taylor, come on. Taylor. I'm going to put her back because she's about spent. Now, that's really fun, and that's exciting, and that's, it's easy. It's easy to push it too far because a lot of people will go, that was awesome. Let's keep doing that. 2, 3, 4, 5 retrieves, and then all of a sudden, if I did much more with her, if you look at her right now, that tongue is really hanging out. She's exhausted. She didn't go very far. Physically, she didn't do much. Sometimes people think that the way to wear their dogs and tire their dogs out is they got to run them. burn the energy off. I completely disagree. Now, I think there's a balance between mental and physical stuff, but I get dogs more tired taking them to test the patience. You guys can't see it, but she keeps taking her feet off. She keeps taking her feet off. So I get more dogs worn out by putting them on heel and asking them to walk a mile with me over 20 minutes. Like, that's not very fast. There's a lot of stopping. There's a lot of waiting. Sometimes I turn around. But if I cover a mile in 20 minutes, or I let a dog run behind my four-wheeler 10 miles, and they can probably run 10 miles in, I don't know, really fast, less than 20 minutes. The dog that walks the mile under control and has to think about it will likely tire out quicker than the one that runs 10 miles in a shorter period of time. And the reason is because when we exercise our dogs to burn their energy, to get them worn out, all we're doing is conditioning an athlete. Like, if you train as a runner, it's like training to be a sprinter or a marathon runner. Like, you train totally different. These dogs, if they sprint constantly, every day you run them, they get in better shape, which means they just run more and run more and run more and don't get tired. So you're just conditioning a really, really good athlete, which will make it harder for you to wear them out. Do they need physical stuff? Absolutely. But I think they need a combination of physical and mental. I can get dogs more tired by sitting still and having to focus and concentrate than I can letting them free play around. They burn more calories running around, but they also create higher energy levels. So slowing things down is oftentimes my answer to fixing stuff. So when we go from her, I got off subject. If I retrieve, that was pretty fun for me. I kind of like that. Like, it would have been a lot more fun to do that for the next, do 10, 15, 20 of them. I think she probably would have, we did 3 or maybe 4. I think after 5 or 6, she might have ran up to it and not picked it up. She might have ran up to it, picked it up, turned around, looked at me and went, nope, I'm going to go do something different. Because her attention span is pretty short. And if I push it, because things are very, very similar, it's a different shape, it's a different smell. Now, from that, eventually I'm going to get to this. But here is 2. Last spring, she's almost 2.5 now. She was about 1.5 years last spring when I took her shed hunting, and she found an antler. It's on Facebook. I did it live. I filmed it. I saw the antler first. So I see this antler laying out there. Come on, Ellie. Get her in. I give her a hunt command. Watch the dogs respond to this. Find it. Find it. Find it. You can't see them right now. Everyone's ears, Taylor even stood up. Like, everybody's ears went, what? Find it. Find it. Find it. Find it. Find it. Taylor hasn't wagged her tail that much all day. Just started going. So I'm going to show you another little hunt drill that I can do with them. So I'll take this tennis ball. I'm going to take some antler scent. This is an old one. And a frozen one. Antlers, this is a stick version of our scent. I put a little bit on. Now, you can get that to roll a little bit. We'll leave that one for a while. That just, I like it with a liquid scent on a tennis ball because it's like a sponge. And when you roll it, it leaves a nice trail for them. Now that'll leave probably enough scent for her to follow. Now what I'm going to do is take another one. Put a little scent on it. You guys stay. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Looking ahead, as I get my dog excited and I give him a hunt command, I got a feeling I'd have a red dog join in the hunt real quickly. So I'm going to fix that.
Would that be such a bad thing?
Yeah, because I didn't ask her to.
Oh.
And she broke off her place. So if I asked her to, no. but I don't want her to right now. So she'd love it, no doubt about it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take her and I'm going to have her, I want her to hunt an area. So I'd like her to hunt this group. Now she's got it in her memory, there's something over there. So I'm going to see if I can't keep her into this area to hunt. I'm going to tell her to find it. I'm going to let her search and search and search. She's not going to find anything because there's nothing there. But then when she's not looking, I'm going to roll this in. And then she's going to find it. And what I'm going to end up showing her is, when I tell you to hunt an area, something's there, I promise you. But she's going to look and look and look, and she's going to get to the point where she's going to go, it's not here, Dad. But before she quits, in it goes, and boom, she found it. And then she looks at me like I'm Zeus. Because she goes, he knew it was there. He told me it was there. Oh, Dad, you. And the next time she remembers that. Because when I ask her to hunt a little bit harder, a little bit longer, she goes, boy, every time I find it, if he tells me it's here. Now, my cadence and my tone will dictate this. So I'm going to take Ellie, put Ellie up. That'll help her to resist any temptation here. I'm going to take Taylor over here. Find it. Find it. I'd like her to work a little pattern. Find it. Find it. Little tone gets her back. Find it. I don't mind her if she works that way. I don't want her working that way. She'll end up with that orange ball. Find it. Now she's also trained as a canine unit to detect narcotics. I did that at a high school once. 2 kids stood up and they left. So, it's just kidding. She's not. If anyone's nervous, we're good, okay? Come on, find it. Find it. So she's going to hunt. I really want to get her to hunt this area. Come on. Find it. I'm real broad with this command to her. Taylor, come on. Here. Find it. Find it. Watch her body language. She works totally different. Yeah, I know she's working right now because of her way her back is and her cadence of her tail. Find it. Oh, someone was at the popcorn stand there. Good, good. Now she works that area. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. I'll get you next time. Good. 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 Hold. Now I did. Imagine this was a little piece of cover. It'd be a lot easier. I'd like to take a lawnmower, mow a big circle around it, so there's a real clear area. When my dog dives, 48-minute did. Hold conditioning is important. It used to include, it doesn't include that anymore. But what we did was, it's an hour long. And I did a completely separate, and we're giving it to the people. If you buy the Shed DVD, we're giving it to you for free. Because I think it's that important. So we took a 48-minute DVD and we made it into 4 hours. There's a lot of talking going on in that one. But we do a hunt command with a little puppy, and we show how we use food, and we sprinkle it in a little mowed piece of grass, and we teach that dog to hunt off of a hunt command. Eventually it turns into tennis balls. I walk through all those steps in that new DVD. Now, with Taylor, let's bring Taylor over here. Taylor here. Now, if I had a little ball of dirt, a little clod of dirt, I would take it, I'd ball it up, I'd pitch it, and I'd let it hit the ground. And I'd let it break up. And I'd send the dog visually on that, because that's right where I started this little track for her. But there's nothing there for her to find, but there's scent. And then, so we're going to let her work on this scent. Now, where are the thermals in this building? I have no idea. So where does the wind go? I don't know. But she comes off of there, and I can read her body language right now. She's not on it. Oh. When they turn on a dime, they catch wind. So she's going to have to sift through this. Oh, that's a good girl. That was too easy for you. Yeah. She loves that. So that was antler scent on a tennis ball. Doesn't look like one, but guess what? It smelled like one. So when I talk about getting dogs to pick antlers for me, come here. I like them visually to understand it equals retrieve. I like them scent-wise to understand it'll equal a retrieve. And when we put this scent on the dummies, when we put this scent on the tennis balls, when we put it on the real antler, it's intensifying the scent to a level that ensures my dog's success. And when they find it, it's a training device. So people ask about human scent. My scent is all over this stuff. So is everybody else's. You won't fool your dog's nose. If you try to wear rubber, I had so many people go, I put the rubber gloves on, he's still smelling me, I think. You know what a rubber glove smells like? A rubber glove. I can smell it too. So you're not fooling, you're just adding scents. But here's the important part is, how do dogs smell? This goes, now we can talk a little bit of tracking stuff too, because this applies to the trackers, the game recovery dogs. So when you get a dog to process scent, they smell everything in layers. But they process it so quickly, they're like a computer. When you drive by a drug dog with a vehicle that has a bag of dope that's been sealed and wrapped and tight, and you put it in the tank of a gas tank of a vehicle, and you drive by a drug dog, they'll alert to it. You can take bags of dope and you can encase them in concrete and put them on the back of a semi and drive it across the border, and the dogs will alert to it. You think you're going to fool your dog because you put rubber gloves on? I mean, no. But here's why. My wife cooks vegetable soup, and I walk in the kitchen, I smell vegetable soup. My dog walks in the kitchen, and they smell the peas, the carrots, the salt, the pepper, the water, the calcium, the things that are in the water, everything that's in that kitchen. They smell it all. They process it all that quickly. So when you start training, this doesn't smell like an antler. I don't care. I just want it to look like one. Because the best nose in the world won't smell an antler if it's not downwind. And just because they're not downwind doesn't mean they don't get to retrieve them. I don't want them to pick them up. I want them to pick them up if they see them. I want them to pick them up if they smell them. So when we start adding scent to it and making it smell like an antler, that's in addition to any and all other scents that are on it. Out in the wild, guess what this smells like out in the wild? When I look at this, there are so many scents to an antler. This is a really nice shed. You know how I know that this shed is the second one to fall off? I can tell by looking at it. This one's really clear. See that big spur on it? So typically, when you find a matched set, this has nothing to do with dogs, but when you look at this one, this is another, these are pretty fresh. These are pretty fresh antlers. That red stuff there is blood. That is dirt. But there's blood in there. That, like orangish, that's had blood at one point. But there's hair. If you look really closely at this, you'll see there's hair caked into it. So the reason I know that's a second side is because when one falls off, this is probably the first side to fall off. When one falls, the process of a deer shedding is just the calcification that takes place after all these hormones change and they just go into this different mode of survival. They don't spend energy anymore holding on to antlers. They fall off. The first one usually falls off smooth. The second one usually is kicked off because all of a sudden they're like this. They don't like that. Deer don't like that. So what they'll do is they'll reach back and they'll kick at it because it feels funny now and it's starting to hurt. So that spur it was close to being to the point, but that deer sped it up, sped the process up. So that has nothing to do with dogs, but what you can see on these is the scent part. There's a ton of scent to this. Well, guess what else is on this? Probably. I do a lot of shed hunting, and I notice in the winter when there's snow on the ground, you'll go up and you'll see one, somebody peed on it. Coyotes. If you look at the tips of these, this one doesn't have it. There's a lot of them that have these little pinholes on the tips. This is like nature's dog chew. Like in the wild, coyotes chew on these. One of my buddies found his biggest shed. It's big. It was 90-some inches. He found it at the den of a coyote, at a coyote's den. Couldn't get it in. It was so big. It got to the edge and couldn't pull it back in. That's where he found it. So that all puts scent on this. I have a lot of people that are worried about their dog because they retrieved it and now they have to go wash it because it smells like their dog. It does, but that's just another layer on top of the hundreds of other scents that are in this to begin with. The thing about it is when you start, let's say I've got a bucket here and I've got 10 items, okay? And like when we were kids and they had this puzzle, if it has any of these things, it's true, okay? Like when you're a little kid in school. So there's all these little things that are parts of it. So I've got this box. If there's a ball in the box, it's an antler. If there's one of these, it's an antler. If there's one of these, it's an antler. If there's one of these, it's an antler. If any of these are in this scent, in this box, the dog knows it's an antler because of the scent. Okay? So, is it an antler? Yes, because there's one in, right? Is it an antler? Yes, because there's one in. This isn't an antler scent. This is something else. Is it an antler? Yes. But it's an antler, but it's got a little bit extra. But when so that's my scent that I put on it training, or I put it in my bag, or something touched it, or some of them get chewed on by a chipmunk. Does that put scent on it? Absolutely. Some of them get marked by coyotes. So now, these 4 clues, let's say I'm training now. Those are in there. Here's my scent, that's in there. Here's another thing that happened to be my truck and touched the antler. And here is, because it's one of these, it had more hair on it. That's in there. So we trained with that. Is that an antler? Yes, because it has those core things, right? So now, we trained with this training dummy, or this antler, and all those scents were there. Now we go out in the wild. Here it is. It doesn't have this. It doesn't have this. It doesn't have this. My dog was trained to know that those things were retrieved. Now I take them away. Is it an antler still? Because these are still there. So maybe that doesn't make any sense. Did that make any sense? So I did it. I did this at a store, and it was in Minnesota. So I used hockey, and I used hockey pucks and hockey sticks and stuff. But just because there's scents added to a training situation, when you take those scents away, the core scents are still there, which were there when you trained, as long as you're using them in training. So I just want to put it to rest about the idea of, I think the dog's finding it because my hands were on it. In the wild, it won't. No, the chances are you probably threw it for him regularly, and you never did a trailing memory. And when Ellie went and found her first antler, she ran past it 10 times. I think she tripped on it at one point. I trained her to be a shed dog. She's one of my personal dogs. For the first time, she bumped into it and didn't pick it up. But you know what I did? You can watch it because I filmed it. I stood behind her and I just said, find it, find it, find it, find it, find it. Her eyes right now are bugging out at me. Again? You want me to find it again? Find it, find it, find it, find it, find it, find it, find it. And she worked, and she worked, and she worked, and she worked, and she worked. And eventually, she picked it up. She looked at it the right way, and I went, that's it, good girl. She picked it up, and I went, oh, you're a good girl. And she brought it back to me. This was a dog that I had trained and started out like Elsa. And I got really excited in that same tone when she picked up the training dummy today. She went right back to that memory of, oh my God, that's all he wants? That's it. So all of a sudden, now we did one. It took a long time. There's a lot of people, I think, that would have gotten so excited because they trained their shed dog and they went out shed hunting and there's a shed and this is the first opportunity. Come on, Sparky, find it, find it. Sparky, find it, find it. Jesus Christ, it's right here. Come on, find it, find it. And then they look at you and they go, yeah. And you go, come on, find it, let's go, come on. And your buddy's watching and you go, oh, how embarrassing. That moment is real important to your dog. And that moment is when your dog goes, oh, I'm sorry. They want to make us happy. They just don't always understand exactly what we want from them. So that moment has to be training. You can't turn that opportunity, because if you want to train a bird dog, you can go to a game farm. You can put up 100 roosters in a day. It's easy to transition from training to hunt because we have these places that we can go and get a lot of experience. Now, is a game farm the same as going to South Dakota? No, it's not. But it's a nice transitional step. And you can get a lot of experience. How many of you found 100 sheds last year? How many of you found 10? How many of you found 1? How many of you found more than 1? That's how many opportunities your dog may have. You have to make the most of them. You can't expect to finish dogs out when they get an opportunity to find one antler a year. So now, does that mean it's not worth doing it? No, because I will say this: people think when they train a shed dog, they're going to go from 1 antler to 100. If you don't have a lot of sheds where you shed hunt, the dog won't find them. I think people think we train dogs and we sit in the truck and drink coffee and they fill the back. It doesn't work that way. Like, I walk way more miles with the dog than I did before. That's part of the reason I find more antlers. If you do anything more often, you're likely to succeed more often. So the guy that shoots the most ducks usually has a really good duck dog. It's a combination of things. A lot of opportunities. A lot of good duck dogs are developed by shooting a lot of birds over them. But the guy with the good duck dog gets invited to the best spots to hunt. The guy without a good duck dog doesn't get invited to a lot of places. So, because you get it, if you train your dog to shed hunt, will you find more sheds? It's inevitable. Your chances are higher. You cover more ground. You got a dog that's using his nose and his eyes. That all makes sense. If they're not there, you won't find more. But the chances of you know how many people this year sent me messages to say, I will pay you to bring your dogs and shed hunt on my property. I've gotten a lot of messages like that. If I didn't have dogs, how many people would send me the message to say, I'll pay you to come and shed hunt on my property? None. Now, I don't do it. I don't do that. I don't have time, unfortunately. But I have a hard time shed hunting on my own farm. I'm here this weekend. Next weekend I'm at another store. Next weekend I'm at another show. I don't have a lot of time. I got to figure out ways to do it on my own because I'm training some clients' dogs and I got to put them on some antlers. But the reality is, guys, when it comes to shed hunting, when we have these little opportunities, we have to set them up for success with it. We have to cash in on them. And then we have to stack the deck in our favor. So I have a little antler that I carry in my back pocket. And when I take little dogs and I go, first off, I shrink up the hunt. I used to walk for hours, days. I used to look at a farm and go, we're going to start on this end, and we're going to work our way this way, and we're going to... As many hours as I could walking, because the more miles I put on, my chances are better of finding antlers. When I take little dogs, I have to realize we're transitioning training. We're not just shed hunting. So I'll go out to this fisherman probably. I'll wake up the next morning and I'll tell my kid, come on, let's go. And he'll look at me and go, I think I'll sleep in. I didn't really have that much fun yesterday. I casted 1,000,000 times and never saw a fish. But if I take my kid fishing for the first time on my dad's pond that's full of bluegills, and he catches a fish on every single cast, he wakes me up the next morning to go fishing. I want these dogs to understand that this is fun. This isn't something that, oh God, we're doing this again. Question?
Scent.
Yeah.
What is it that the dog is actually smelling on it? Calcium?
So that's got sent to it. Hair, blood. You ever find a fresh shed that's got that green, almost like a slime on it? I find a lot like that. I don't even know what that is. It's got scent to it. When a buck rubs on, like, if I look at some of these, you look on the base of some of these will have, I've found several, these ones don't. I found several that have rubbings yet. Like, could be cedar, could be popple. It's breaking down and decaying. That has scent to it. When that chipmunk chews on it, it smells. When that coyote pees on it, it smells. There's all sorts of different parts and pieces to it that my dog is able to process. So I'm able to add that in. Now, when it comes to so that goes back to the analogy with the boxes. Those 7 are always there. The one in the wild might have 10. The one that I train with might have 12 individual scent parts to it. The dog processes them all like right now, and it goes back to that, if this is here, true. If this is here, shed. And shed means retrieve. Retrieve means praise. So they're processing that like instantly.
I was just curious because I've got a dog that was my dog.
Yeah.
And I've never trained him for sheds, but he's 7 years old now, and out of the 7 years, last 3 years, he's found sheds on his own just by going into the woods and coming out with them in his mouth and bringing them onto the deck.
You bet. Hear that a lot.
Smelling.
Yeah.
What he's picking up on.
Now my dog will also, this year I have not found a shed yet. I don't look yet. It's a little early for me. I hunt on private land. And so we don't have that much. We got a nice farm, but to hunt. But if I go in there right now, because one deer shed, I'll probably bump the other 10 that haven't, and they may shed on my neighbors. Because right now the deer are so sensitive to pressure. So if we put pressure on them this time of year, they're going to go where there is none. And my neighbors don't do much in the winter. So they're not on their land, and they have pretty good cover too. I have a lot of food. We leave a ton of food for the deer. It's for hunting reasons, but it also helps us with shed hunting. When you start thinking about finding sheds, like it's a numbers game. The deer got to put more calories in than they burn these days. Like that's how they're going to survive the winter. So when you find deer up here, I don't know if they yard up, but by me in the north, they yard up. They all live in these thermal covers where it's a little bit warmer and there's abundant browse, or there's some people feed supplement, bales and whatever. So we leave acres of soybeans. We leave 8 acres of standing corn. We have pretty decent cover. And so our deer will likely not go much more than 40 acres. They'll go from food to bed, food to bed, food to bed, food to bed. And if there's snow on the ground, it really chokes them down because they won't even walk through the woods. They walk on trails. It's least amount of calories burned, so they're really efficient. As a shed hunter, where do I have to look? In the food, in the beds, and on the trails in between. It really simplifies things. Now, if you're down south, it's a lot harder. If you don't have snow, it makes it a lot harder. So that's just like, that's with or without a dog from a shed training standpoint. But when your dog found some antlers, I guess I again go off on tangents. But what I was going to say is we haven't shed hunted yet, but my dogs have made some, especially my young ones, have made some retrieves just on walks. And they brought back one of